everybody, welcome back to Drawing with Paolo. Today's tools, a pencil. You need an eraser. And you also need the pencil eraser, which is an eraser made in the pencil shape. So all these three tools are what we're going to use today to draw our friend Superman's head, shoulders, thighs, and legs. So let's start with his head up here, a nice oval at the top with his neck attached to the bottom of his body, of his head here. And then we've got his trapezius muscles on either side. And we've got his clavicles here in a triangular shape, which attach to his shoulders on either side. And we'll give him a powerful pose. So he's like, he's got his hands on his thighs. So here are his pecs. Superman is a powerful man, so we need to draw powerful muscles. Here are his lats and his side muscles. We'll draw his tricep here, bicep on this side. Same thing over here on the right side, bicep, tricep. Big arms on Superman, really big arms. He can lift, a mountain, so we want to make him nice and strong. There are a bit more detail to his shoulder blades and shoulders. Not shoulder blades, but shoulders. Shoulder blades on the back, you can't see those from the front. Here's his belt line, and then we'll give him his little underwear, which all superhuman people seem to be wearing, over top their clothes. And then his forearms. Once again, this is another special request. A special request going out to I forget who. I have so many. So Superman for all of you folks who want Superman. And there's his right arm, his left arm. And by the way, this will be the brand new Superman that was relaunched by DC Comics a few months ago. So it's the brand new Superman costume. Not in all of its detail, but to some extent, some of its detail. So you may not recognize some of this stuff. Here's his chest area here. There's and here we'll put in his the separation for his head, where we know to put his eyes and his nose and all that. All right, so let's get rid of the stuff inside here. We don't need all that stuff in there, so we'll clean that up. Let's add an eye here. So we're gonna add a little almond shape on the left and right side, just like this. We're gonna add a little bit of a nose. Superman's super smell. He can smell stuff far away. We're going to add an eyebrow over here. Not so much as not an angry Superman, but just a regular pose. He's not smiling or anything, although he could be. If you want to make your Superman smile, go ahead. I'm going to make his jaw a bit square and add an ear onto the left and right side here. We can see the right ear a little bit less. Let's add his lip line over here with his underlip over here. There we go. We're going to add his little a little divot we have under our nose. Here's one iris, another iris. We're going to add some hair to this guy. As far as I know, Superman is still not bald. And the newer Superman has his hair parted to the side. And so we'll do that. We'll part his hair to the side. Add some ear details on either side. There we go, a little earlobe. And then we're going to attach the front hair here with his little, his curl. Not forget this Superman curl at the front. There we go. And we get rid of this head top here. There we go. Now Superman's got hair. Okay, so we're going to color in the hair. And a lot of people are saying, Paolo, how do you draw hair? Well, here's another great example. We drew Wonder Woman a while ago. So go see Wonder Woman if you want to learn how to draw female hair. And this is pretty much how you can draw male hair. You can also see the face drawing that I have to see how to draw hair in general. But we've been drawing hair everywhere, guys. We drew a wolf, we drew a dog, we drew a cat, we drew a puma, we drew a leopard. And so if you check those out, a lot of that stuff can be used to draw male hair here. So a lot of those ways and techniques that we've used to draw is the same thing for this. We're going to color in some dark edges, dark patches inside of his hair, and leaving some white patches because that's where the light reflects, right? So I'm pretty much going sort of random, to where I want the dark spots to be and where I want the light spots to be. I'm just making sure that I leave enough white so it does look like light is shining off the top of his head there. And so we're going to add a bit more detail to his eyes here. Redefine that and put in a pupil in there. Now the detail here is really small, so that's what's fun to have this mechanical pencil, because it's really, really pointy, right? So you can use it really nicely to make very small details. Let's square off his jaw a bit more here and attach that to his neck. And we're going to add a few more lines here, like this. Get rid of this stuff. Don't need those foundation lines anymore. And there we go, more or less, Superman's head. Let's add a few more detail lines to his face, like right here next to his eyebrows. Just like that. All right. We'll color in an upper lip here. A few seconds, so add a few details around here. And then add a few cowls, yeah, a little bit of an angry look. A little bit, not too much. And then there's the upper lip I was talking about. All right, color that in. And now Superman has a collar somehow. So in this new iteration of Superman, there's a collar on him. So we're gonna add this collar, which comes down like this, little V point. And then there's a thickness to that, and it's a red thickness that goes around. We're gonna add that soon. Let's get rid of all this stuff in here in the meantime. All right, let's retrace that line. All right. Work on the ear here. A little bit on this one. This ear's a little thin, but I'm gonna leave it like that. It doesn't really matter. Just to show you guys that, you know what, if you're not happy with something, that's fine. You'll do better on the next drawing, or you can erase it and try it again. That's cool. I'm gonna erase this little curl here and give him a bit more of a sheen inside there. There we go. We see that a bit better now. Okay. See, so you can erase if you want to. My idea here is don't erase your stuff. Just try another drawing and make it better next time. You can base yourselves on the errors you've made before and improve upon your drawing. That's why we keep the drawings we make. We don't throw them out. So you want to redraw it, you go back to that. So here's that thickness that we have around that collar here. That's a red line in the new Superman outfit. So here's his collarbones here. And then his cape attaches to his collarbone all the way to the front. Well, that's how I understand it anyway. All right, so here's the left side of his cape. Wraps around and attaches to his collarbone. I'm just using these curvy lines, and we're going to erase those trapezius muscles in there. We don't need to see them anymore. Okay, retrace a few of these cape lines. Now, if you want to draw a really good cape, just look at the curtains in your house. I'm serious. Look at the curtains. Look at how curtains will flow or just lay there. And what you can do is tie the middle section of the curtains and look at how those curtains flare out in an easy way. You can then reproduce that as a cape. It could be Batman's cape, Superman's cape, Green Lantern's cape. Aha! Green Lantern doesn't have a cape. Well, he does, depending on what planet he comes from, which Earth, Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 54. So Green Lantern in certain comic books has a red cape. Let's get rid of this little line. You may not have that line there, but I did, so I'll get rid of that. And his collar comes to attach sort of over here. And we're going to color underneath his neck here, or underneath his chin. His chin is jutting out, so it's making a bit of shadow. So we need to color that inside portion. Then we're going to add a few little material lines here, make it look like his collar sort of, you know, it's not a solid shape. And then we're going to draw his Superman logo, which hasn't changed too much. It's sort of been, you know, modernized a little bit. And so we got this nice point diamond shape coming down to the bottom. And it comes to reach out over here. So we can get rid of the pectoral muscles there. So he's got this big diamond on his chest. And so here's the thickness that we're going to need to use later on to create his S shape in there, right? So let's retrace the diamond, a smaller diamond inside. And then the toughest part is actually creating the S. So we're going to use a darker line around the outline here, and then we're going to work this S in. So there's a little triangle that starts here. Then we need to draw the uppermost part of the S like this. Then there'll be a nice curve that goes all the way to the left side and then curves right back and goes all the way across afterwards. A little divot here to the bottom. Then there's a little triangle here. And then there's the bottom of the S that comes like this. And then comes down, and then there's a little loop, or not a loop, but a curve like this. A little bit of a curve, just like that. And then don't forget the bottom triangle right here. All right, so now what we need to do is trace out around the S. So we're going to trace those lines around like this. Don't forget this little triangle here. And then we need to erase all the outlines here that attach the S to the side of his diamond shape. So see all these lines, we need to get rid of those. So I'm going to do that, retrace this real quick. And then with the swipe of the hand, I'm going to clear up the whole drawing. So I'm going to get rid of all these things. Boom, done. Now, I know that's quick for you guys, so what you need to do is pause the video now, and then look at all the lines I've erased, and erase the same lines on your drawing. That's if you're following along. Now, what I tend to recommend, this is a very, I would say it's an advanced drawing today. So if it's the first time you're drawing Superman or the first time you're watching me, then watch the video once, and then run it again a second time and follow along. Now, if you go to my YouTube channel, like up just above this video, you'll see my name in a light blue. Click on that name, and you'll fall into my YouTube channel. From that YouTube channel, you can see all my drawing videos, and there are a lot of easy ones, all right? There's the dagger, there's the 3D shapes, there's the letters, 3D letters. So check those out, and start by trying those drawings before attacking the Superman if you're not, if you're just a beginner. If you're not, if you don't mind, do it. I'm encouraging you to try it out. Give it a try. Do the Superman at the same time as I am, and that's cool. And hit the pause button as often as you need to, or rewind, fast forward. Don't be shy. Let's get rid of all these lines here while I'm talking away here. And I'm using this white paper technique. The white paper doesn't really matter what color the paper is, but it's to protect my drawing from my palm. As I draw along, I tend to smear my drawing, and so this white sheet of paper I'm putting on top of Superman is protecting it from my palm. So I'm not going to make my drawing all smudged up and my paper real dirty around there. So, all right. So there's this new part here on the Superman costume that has this little triangle that goes above his hand, and we'll get rid of that line inside there. We'll repeat that on the right side later on. So I'm just going to retrace the outer edges here of his arms, shoulder, his tricep over here. Notice how these lines overlap, so it gives it a little bit of a realism to the thickness of the muscles. Okay, so these lines overlapping give it a bit more realism. And then this little point here has also a red thickness, just like on his collar. So here's just the red line that goes around that. And then we're going to do the same thing on the right side. So I'm just going to retrace the cape a little bit here. Okay. There we go. Color this in a little bit, make this darker here where his collar meets his suit. I was used to Superman collarless, just his neck coming down and attaching to his costume. But in this case, it's a new model, so we're going to add that model. So here's his right shoulder, which you can see attached here to his pectoral muscles. And then we're going to trace the underline here. Same thing on the left side. Watch not to sputter my drawing with my palm. And all these lines here we can get rid of. All right, we're going to add his abdominal muscle separator here. His belt line should be sort of over here. And his belt now sort of has the same logo that he has on his chest, but without the full detail. So he has that diamond shape over here on his belt line with a little divot, and then boom into the belt, and goes across to his sides there. Just like that. All right, so let's do the side of his body here. So as I said, the best place to watch all my videos is to go to my YouTube channel and check out all the videos that are there. I have lots of them, from beginner to advanced. This is a more advanced drawing, but all I really want you guys to do is draw, 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 draw. It's the best way to practice your imagination and to play. Seriously, better than video games in my opinion anyway. It works hand-eye coordination. It builds your imagination, your smarts. It makes you figure out things like how do I create a 3D environment on a 2D object like a piece of paper? This piece of paper is flat, but with drawing I can actually make it look like there's depth to it. So just like this character, how do I make him look 3D on a 2D sheet of paper? Well, those are things that allow you to, your brain needs to think really hard, and that's something that drawing allows you to do. Drawing and creating allows you to make your brain work. Whereas video games sometimes, like, you're just a zombie, right? I have nothing against video games. My son plays video games, but I really want them to draw a lot too, my kids. So you guys out there, draw, draw, draw. I would say 20 minutes a day. And then, that includes a little doodling you're doing while you're talking on the phone or while you're listening to your teacher at work, at school. That's cool to draw because sometimes you're still paying attention to what the teacher says, but that's how I used to do it at school anyway. And I would get really good marks. Now let's erase all these lines here. We don't need that. Get rid of this stuff and then retrace the lines that I've erased by error. There's this other triangle here with the thickness, the red line there. Alright, we're going to draw his hand in a few minutes. Let's get this line done correctly here. There we go. Put another little muscle line here, attached to his elbow. So draw 20 minutes a day, doodle, grab that pencil and just go crazy. Do whatever you want. Spirals, circles, whatever. Get used to that feeling of that pen in your hand and draw away. And the paper doesn't really matter, whatever kind of paper you've got within your hand, you just draw on it, I think drawing is super important. Creates a lot of good stuff for you. Keeps your mind healthy. And then it makes great gifts for your friends. Hand them out. Give those drawings out. All right, let's work on this left hand here. So he's got a left fist leaning on his side here on his belt. There's another finger. Let's erase this stuff inside there. Okay, let's do the right hand now. We're not going to put too much detail for that. We're going to erase all this core stuff here. We don't need that anymore. Once again, paper technique to fix the belt here. I don't want to smear my drawing, so the paper's protecting the drawing from my hand of motion. There's a little belt. All right. And then we're going to add a little bit of a thickness to that belt. It's really thin. And if you can't make it come out too good, that's okay. Look, my line just went to attach to the other one. It doesn't matter. Add a bit more detail here to this chest piece. Chest piece, yeah. Not chest piece. Okay, and soon we're going to start adding in the shade, or the shading to this drawing, which will give volume and mass to these muscles. So this is one part, for example. It's a shape I'm drawing in, which we'll be coloring in later on. Let's add in his thighs, and then you'll see what I mean by shading or shadowing. We're going to add really dark shapes to this character, and it'll look like he's got more mass, more weight to him, more volume than just a drawing such as this. So what I like to do in these instances is I'm going to start adding a bit of thickness to some of these lines, and the darker the line, or the thicker the line, it looks like it's deeper within the muscle there, right? It's deep muscle tissues. And the light's coming from the top here, so I'm going to color the collar here a little bit as well to make it as though his jaw is producing a shadow on top of his clothes. But let's do this first. So we're going to color in his whole suit in a shade of gray. Okay, because this is supposed to be a dark blue, cobalt blue sort of. And so we're going to color all this stuff in. This represents the blue. And then we're going to darken that later on with a few shadows and shady spots. So let's color all this in here. So people ask me, why do you accelerate this stuff? Well, because it's boring to watch me color, essentially. So you guys can pause it, color along, and when you've paused it and you've caught up, then you can hit play again. I'm going to just finish up the little few spots here. Okay, so now we're going to add those shadows, or those 3D shading parts that make the biceps and triceps and deltoids look 3D. So I curve a line. So let's do that again. This was a bit quick, so let's do that. We're going to add a few lines here to the forearm first. So I'm just thickening up these muscle lines with zigzags. And it gives a nice effect to our character here. All right, so here's a tricep. Now here's a curved line, curve. And then color that in. Curve, color that in. Now you don't want to make it super dense at the bottom. You want to sort of use a gradient at the bottom of that, shading that we're doing. Except for at the bicep, where the bicep hits the forearm, well, that really cuts off straight. This pectoral muscle, we need to make that dark as well. I made it a bit too dark, so now I need to darken in the other muscle shades. I have a hard time today with shading. Need to make that shading a bit darker, so it has to be pretty much even everywhere. All right, and of course his arm is casting a shadow on his forearm, so we need to color the top part here as well. There we go. All right, let's work on the right side here a little bit. Let me make a gradient here first. So I'm going to just add a few zigzags in this so that it softens the shadow, all right, on his pecs here. Okay, so we're going to darken this part here a little bit too, to push that back within the drawing. And like I said earlier, this is where his chin is casting a shadow onto his suit, so we're just going to add a little shading underneath here. But we're going to make sure to leave that little, see how it, yeah, we're going to leave a little bit of a line, like the white line going across his collar, that's required. If you color across that, then it loses a little bit of detail. It's not realistic, of course, but you know, this is still a comic book character, and we're not trying to draw hyper-realism. It is a cartoon. Okay, not so much a cartoon, but a comic book, right? Right, so we're going to add a few more of these shapes everywhere, like those curves, and we fill the curve. That's a technique that we're going to use for the abdominal muscles and the side here, where your ribs are, or muscles called obliques, and so on. So we're going to color this part in here underneath his arm, make this nice and dark. Make sure to leave those ribs there visible, and then we're going to add dark circles, as half circles inside there. Then over here we're going to add a bit more detail, but we're going to add a few more of those curve lines and then filling those in. See, curve, fill it in, gradient it out, and then curve and fill that in. So it gives, you know, 3D muscle look to his trunk there, to his core. You do the same thing for this abdominal muscle here. Curve it, color it, and gradient it at the bottom. I don't know, maybe I drank too much tea today and I'm having a hard time talking. Okay. So we need to treat him the same way on this side. So curve and color. Get real close to the abdominal muscles there. And then we need to make certain parts darker. Sort of like what we did with the trunk, the tree trunk that we did for the leopard. Certain parts are really dark inside that trunk to push, to make a hole within the trunk. So it's the same thing for the abdominal muscles. Where you want the abdominal muscles to be deeper, you color it nice and dark. We're going to add a few details here to the suit. And now we're going to attack the whole right side. So the same thing. Same thing as the left side. Curve, color it in. Nice and dark. Same black that you use on the left side. And need a bit more lead there. So we're going to color that in. Same thing for over here. We're going to add that zigzag pattern. Now you don't have to draw exactly the same thing as me. And that's fine. You know, everybody has their own technique. And you guys out there have been sending me really cool drawings. And they're really, really nice. They are a resemblance to mine, but they're not my drawings. And that's fine. That's exactly what you want. You want to put your own style to your drawings. And that's the whole point. If we can recognize that the character is Superman, then it doesn't really matter how you drew it or what it looks like. All right. So let's add a bit of a metal finish look to his belt here. That's what it's supposed to be these days. So we're going to add some metallic shine to that. If you want to know how to draw steel or metal, then go ahead and check out my Knight on a Horse. That one is very metallic, so it'll give you a good idea. And we need to add a bit more shading to his muscles here, to his shoulder lines. A bit more shading on his bicep and tricep here. A little bit darker. And you know what? Go out and get yourself a bodybuilding magazine. If you want to know how to draw proper strong men and strong women, you get yourself a bodybuilding magazine, or go onto the internet and type, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Universe or stuff like that, and you'll see that there's a lot of detail you can get from one of those pictures, and just draw that. It's not cheating to draw from real life. Sit down in front of someone and draw what you see. You make your brain get used to seeing things and understanding the way things are supposed to be, which makes it easier to draw later on. When you need to repeat this drawing again, you'll be able to draw that stuff easily because you've seen it and you know how it's supposed to look like. And so you can repeat that really easily later on. So sit down in front of stuff, draw stuff, grab magazines, draw what you see in the magazines, grab your iPad and look at what pictures you can find on the internet and repeat those drawings, repeat those pictures. And then you can get really good at it. And later on you don't need them anymore. But at first, if you want to get really good at representing humans, animals, objects, look at those objects, draw them. And then the more often you draw them, you can then register them into your brain and you'll be able to draw them on your own later on. So that's the best idea I can throw out there for you for the moment. Let's color in his superhuman underwear here. They are bulletproof trunks. I don't know what his suit is made of because he's bulletproof, sure, but is the suit bulletproof too? Because he never gets holes through Superman suit from being shot by a bullet. I would understand the fact that, because it's so taut and close to his chest and body and whatnot, that the bullet couldn't even pierce his suit, so I would get that. I'd understand that. But what about his cape? I don't know, I'm just playing around. Let's add some muscles to his thighs here. We're going to add a few muscle lines. He's tensing his muscles for this shot. He's taking a muscular pose. He wants to impose his power here, so we're going to add a few muscle lines to his thighs here. And we're going to color really dark lines in there so those muscles look deep. And we're going to color the side here using that zigzag pattern. Just like this. And we're going to color that stuff in, leaving a little bit of white here and there. Very important. If you want to get some advance notice of what our next drawings are, then go ahead and follow me on Twitter. If you want to find me on Twitter, it is Paolo Morrone on Twitter. And if you want to find me on Facebook, just look for the Drawing with Paolo page. And I tend to send out a picture of the next drawing. So now using my eraser, I'm going to add some white reflections to his suit here. So for like the light is reflecting off of certain of his body parts here. And it gives a bit more, a 3D look to our character just by erasing certain parts of his body here like this. We're erasing the gray that we drew in there. And then the next step will be drawing in his cape. But you know what? His face is a bit too light. So we're going to add a little bit of shading to his face here. So underneath his hair, make this a little bit darker. Around his eyes, make that a little bit darker because, our eyes are a little bit deeper inside our head there. So we need to make that dark around the eyes. And shade in his nose as well a little bit. So around the face, make that a bit darker too. There we go. That attaches the face more to the body. Thin out his nose a little bit. Okay, now to attack the cape. Like I said earlier, if you want to draw a nice cool cape, just look at a piece of material you have at home or throw a blanket on the sofa and draw that blanket and get used to just drawing material flowing. So here's how my cape's going to flow today. And then I'm going to add the thickness to that cape, sort of like this. And then inside there, I'm going to draw some lines that are just coming down like this, in there, across, double those lines, bring another one over here. If you want to know how to draw really good, realistic material, you can check out my Darth Maul drawing, or even Yoda. Those guys have really nice cloaks, and I was able to render pretty realistic material, or fabric, so check it out. This cape is sort of hidden by Superman's body here, so we're just going to make it sort of simple. So I'm going to color in a whole section nice and dark, and then the separator lines here, or the flowing lines within the cape, will be just very, very black. That's all. That's how I'm going to draw this cape in today. Real simple. And then close to his body here, we need to make it a lot darker. That's what's separating his cape from his body, is the dark shadow that's there. Make this dark here as well. We want a little bit of a gradient from the left to the right to show that that cape is sort of wrapping. Okay, and like I said, closer to the body, it needs to be nice and dark. Just like that. And the same thing on the right side here. We're going to color in the whole section, and then where there are his folds, we need to make it nice and dark in there. Just like that. So guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that wanted Superman, I hope you are pleased by this drawing. It is a difficult one, but those of you that have been following me for a while, you should be able to draw this, no problem. It doesn't need to look like mine. Don't worry about it. And, just draw. Have fun. Have fun drawing. Share your drawings. Give them to friends and family when it's their birthday, whatever. Or just make yourself a nice gallery at home of all your pictures and drawings. It is awesome. It's the best thing to do on the planet, in my opinion. Oh, and also being nice to your neighbors, okay? Friends and family and all that. No bullying, folks. Do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. So let's color this stuff in. Guys, have an awesome day. This was Superman drawing with Paolo. We'll see you next time on another episode of DWP. Have an awesome day.